This is day 67 of Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. And today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is being sponsored for the yahrzeit today of Peretz Ben Yehuda Machlin, Olav Shalom, the Neshama should have an Aliyah. If you would like to sponsor the upcoming day of a Shir, please let me know. We very much appreciate it. Today, we are doing Siman Lamed Ches Sif Hey to Siman Lamed Ches Sif Yud Beis. Sif Hey. We can't give a general principle here about the some of you sick with the stomach ailment, etc., in terms of having to put on tefillin. Is that totally machlas me'av? This has to do with the type of ailment and his constitution, whether it's strong or weak. Nearly the same much because Rabbeinu Beis Yosef Beis is what the Beis Yosef means. What he said, somebody who's clear to him that he cannot die without passing gas. Mutav shi'avar zman hatfila. Better that he tarry beyond the zman tefila. Miman she'ispavel lo guf naki than die without a clean body. He feels that he can at least restrain himself during the time of Shema. Yaniach tefillin. Ben Aval Kriya Shema should put as well between Ava Rabba and Kriya Shema via Bogech. Ad Kan Lashonu. So in the Choli Me'ayin. And this is the way. This is a matter of stomach ailment. You can't tell if you're Machlosavati that has to do with his ailment and with his nature, his constitution. When we lachat vila after davening, vaday lo yinicham. You should not leave them. Should leave them on after davening. Even though you think you're not going to pass gas. To lomalachis, that's some subject why put yourself into case of doubt. In brackets, he says, because of the asur lachmir al atzmo, a person may not be machmir about himself by choli me'ayim, ayin shom. Because of the also writes, mishar me'abam me'atzmo, if he reckons, assess himself, she'echol me'amir atzmo lafiach el b'chtei shiachlotz shel rosh, if you're not going to be able to restrain yourself long enough to any longer than the amount that it takes to then remove the shorosh. Nevertheless, you put on both of them. Shar and shorosh. So the ikar kpeido b'shorosh. The main objection to passing gas is while you have the shorosh on. So as long as you get the shorosh on off before you set the shorosh on and off in an amount of time which you are reasonably sure you're not going to pass gas, the fact that you might pass gas in Shalyat is not as great concern. And the Mishabur says in Mupigim Ganim is not sure about this, but the Arukh HaShulchan does seem quite sure. Arukh HaShulchan is makeup. Gimel, the Nashim Avadim put him into film. Women and slaves are exempt from film. She mitzvah says she has man grama because of a positive commandment which is contingent on time. The Shabbos you don't have to put them in film. Shabbos you don't have to put your examined film. If they want to imachar upon themselves and put on tefillin, we protest this. It's not like sukkah ship where the example goes in mevarchos aleim, and no less they can make a bracha. They put on tefillin, put it used put a sin in sukkah and use the lulav. He came with the tefillin tzarich v'ir, which he said miguf naki, since tefillin needs extra special care because of having a clean body. Kelisha bal knafayim, like kelisha bal knafayim. U'vishalmi brachas sham amutamon. It says there. Amrin, they say kol sheinu kelisha bal knafayim. Yiniach tefillin. Kelisha bal knafayim is the fellow the Romans ran after him when he was wearing tefillin at the time of Shmad, and he took out the tefillin, hit him in his hand, and the Romans asked him what he had in his hand, and it turned out that he said that he had the wings of doves. And miraculously, his tefillin turned into wings of doves. It always bothered me. They probably had to spend a lot of money to buy a new pair of tefillin after that. But in any event, it seems like he was particularly meticulous about guf naki. And again, as I mentioned a few days ago, the Yerushalmi holds that guf naki also includes a clean mind. So if you can't be that clean, you're not supposed to put on tefillin. Men are required to put it on. They have no choice but to put them on and try their best to be careful during the Shema and Tefillah. But that's why this man is that we curtail putting on the tefillin. Women who are exempt, why put themselves into this very dubious situation? That's some B'Shas Kriya Shema Tefillah Klan Rashim Kol Yom. For them, the time Kriya Shema and Tefillah is also a chance which they should not take. This is men shouldn't take the chance of an entire day. That's only let them put on tefillin. For I forgot the tiny Ervin, even though it says in Masechet Ervin, Tav Tzadi Vav, the Michal, the daughter of Shaul, by Shaul, Haisa Manechas tefillin, the Lo Michal B'Chacham Mecham did not protest. And the maiden said, we don't derive from there. The Bistami Yadu, and we assume that they knew she tzaddikas gemura, that she was a completely righteous woman, Yodali Zohar, and knew that to be careful. Similarly, avodim, even though they're male, the same principle, wipe themselves into a situation where they have no chiyuv to do so. Mishnah Berurah is down there in Pri Megadim that avodim, that although the Pri Megadim says avodim are like women, that we protest. The Tosfos Shabbos writes that we don't protest avodim, but obviously Arukh HaShulchan holds that you do. Vav. Haminiach tefillin, somebody who puts on tefillin, mitzorich lizer miyihur tavas isha. This is a tough one. The person who puts on tefillin has to be has to be careful not to have any desire for a woman during that time. And it seems like even a woman is permitted to him. If he's not capable of putting them on without hirurim of a woman, he should not put the tefillin on. Mishnah Berurah says, nevertheless, you should try with all of your capacity to compel yourself to think of thoughts of Yirah Shamayim and distract yourself from idle thoughts which are damaging to the body and to the soul, and to empty your heart and make it prepared to be Makabel Omachu Shamayim in Kedusha and holiness. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. Even though it sounds in the second sukkah that we shouldn't be concerned because of Hirur, because over there it said that young people who are shouldn't put on tefillin if they're afraid they're going to have relations, but it doesn't say anything about it, afraid of Hirurim, afraid of the desire. I think that's when there's a doubt. But you definitely are thinking about a woman. Also, it's forbidden. Rashi though sounds pretty clearly that when there are Hirurim, there is no Isser. And now finally brings the Yerushalmi. Yes, Shehevi Yerushalmi Shomer Guf. Shehevi Yerushalmi Shomer Guf Nakimi Machshaba. He says in the name Arukh HaShulchan, brings on Yerushalmi, says that your body has to be pure of thoughts. I didn't find this statement in Yerushalmi. I think it is in Yerushalmi by concerning Lisha Baal Knafayim in Brachas, but maybe I'm wrong. But in any event, it's no worse than getting distracted, which is also so kavachomer. You don't have thoughts about a woman. Even though if you even define Hesed without getting distracted as being frivolous, there's no greater frivolity than having these kinds of thoughts. That's the way to rule, and that's why I said, again, a few days ago, that in the Middle Ages, many of the masses did not put on tefillin. The Sumachai tefillin, a blind person is required to put on tefillin. Ches. Although b'yom rishon, although on the first day of Avelos, also aniach tefillin kol yom kulo, is forbidden to put on tefillin the entire day. I feel acha kvura, even after the burial. Because it says achrisok yom mar, its end is like a bitter day. But tefillin ikru pe'er, and tefillin are called the glory. Ve'lanecham b'yom mamar, you should not put them on a bitter day. The yom rishon ze'arei have an ikra toik of Avelos. The first day of Avelos is the primary time of Avelos. But on the second day, you have to put them on, and that's already after sunrise. The Mishnah Berurah says, it sounds like you immediately when you get up, and the second day you have to put on tefillin as soon as possible. Some poskim hold that it's not after what the Arukh and what Arukh HaShulchan is talking about, that as soon as possible does not mean after Alos HaShachar, but only after Netzach Chama, which is interesting because it would mean that you can't daven Vasikin that second day, precisely because you have to put on the film first. Because you're there, Simon Shin Beiches. Even if new people come to Menachem Avel, And Panim Chadashos is a reason to say Sheva Brachas during Sheva Brachas. It's not a reason to take off tefillin. And a Chotzim Shalav Shan. Once you have a split tefillin, does not take them off. If you blow Shan, he has to put them on. Lo Yinechom Kshiyoshim, so you shouldn't put them on when people are sitting by him until they would go away. Even though he has anguish in his morning, when we start potter and a person who has anguish, his example in film Kmoshis Bias shall be explained. Zel b'tzar demimela. That's when the tsar happens on its own. Avo b'tzar hazeh, but that this kind of tsar, which is it's not. If we let it go, it's going to be ongoing for a few days. He has to make the effort and remove his anguish based on the chasam time puts them on. But Tisha B'Av chayim tefillin. Tisha also reliable. We have to put on tefillin. The avelus shishani. It's an old avelus, and therefore the bitterness is not the same. Bura says that Tisha B'Av is no more severe than the other days of avelus. But nevertheless, our minhag is not to put them on in the morning. Because the morning Tisha B'Av is the most bitter day in the calendar. And a mincha by the time the tsar has dissipated a bit, that we put it on. We use one of the comments even takna ayin shah. So we explain Hilchos Tisha B'Av. Tes Chasan, the groom, V'shoshvinov, and his attendants, and all the members of the wedding party. B'turim mitfilim b'shas mishta. They're exempt at the time of the party. Because it's like they like to get drunk and be frivolous, and that is not appropriate for tefillin. That's when the party starts the night before and goes into the morning. Came to him in that tefillin. They're also exempt from davening. Won't be able to have proper kavanah. But to say Shema, they're responsible. Came in the ikra kavanah pasuk rishon with the evid because this is primary kavanah. And the one with which you to the evidence for the first pasuk, you will chaven for that they can kavanah. Zelfi's man, that was in their day. But they went kavanahs, we're not so big on kavanah anyway. Chaven gam tefillah. You also chayev in tefillah. Mr. Bura says that if they're exempt, it's only b'makam chuppah. Because there, at the place of the chuppahs, that's where there's drunkenness and frivolity. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. So you can't ask, how can they say Shema and tefillah without tefillin? The answer is shayla. It's not a question. Since they're exempt from tefillin because of drunkenness and frivolity, interesting. It's like Shabbos Yom for that purpose. Although I'm not sure whether Shirchos is an os. It sounds like some affinity, something similar here. Agam Megabi Kriya Shema, Utfila ain't Shirchos Kozeh Poteres, even though by terms of Shema and Tefillah, this type of drunkenness does not exempt you from Tefillah. Does not exempt you from Shema and Shemon Esrei. Shari Einam Shikor Mamish, they're not that far gone. And L'Smechem B'Yesh, they were just very, very happy. And relative to tefillin, it is frivolity and is forbidden. Yud b'zel lefi adim it's going to strict law. Kvar kosef Rabbein Ramah b'tshuva. The Ramah writes that nogin lafsika mishteh b'gias man tefillah u'menechin tefillin. I guess it happened in the Ramah's time. That party lasted all night, and when they got to the time of tefillah, they stopped the mishteh and they davened and put it on tefillin. They came now, so I'm thinking to this Baal, once you stop the party in order to daven, we made the lake of Kalos at that point we're no longer considered to be a state of Kalos Rosh. Kriya Shema Spaldim, Choyamnu, we do say Shema, and we daven like every day. The Gam Chasam and Yachtim, even the Chasam does as well. Which brings down that the Magen Avraham is not sure about this halacha. He wants to pass on the Shulchan that they're exempt from tefillin during the time of the party, not like the Ramah who says the Chayim. Oh, sometimes it's tefillah. In terms of tefillah. And those who are like Rashi to exempt you at the time of the Mishnah, they don't lose. But the Gra seems to say you should not be lenient by tefillah. And Yolaston Birchas Yosef write that the meaning is like the Ramah too, that the Chassan and all of his attendants stop and put in tefillah and daven from the first day through the seventh day of the Shabbat Brachas. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. The opinion in the Rishonim that which Chazal exempted the chassan and his attendants from the people in the party. It's not because of drunkenness and lack chazana, kavana, elamitam, the chaim also it's a part of a mitzvah. Because the principle is the volume mitzvah, simchas chassan v'kala, is exempt from the mitzvah of Shema. Simchas chassan v'kala have a mitzvah. L'chein p'turim rishon, it's the exempt from the mitzvahs. The time say according to this, ein chiluk ben daros ein daros or kedumim, kodmim. There will be no search in our generation and previous generations. Times that somebody wants to rely on Islam support in a mitzvah, you're holy smoke, you can rely on that reason. Find him as manakayas. That's certainly in the summer. When sometimes the Suda, I guess, got started very late. Goes on to morning. They can eat and drink, but even after Amud Shachar, even on Eitz HaChama, even though they should be davening, they can still continue to eat and drink. As long as the chassan is still with it. The chassan, because the chassan is no longer there, ain't got mitzvah, there is no mitzvah. But the simple minute, the prevalent minute is like the first svara, that it's on account of drunkenness, and therefore you should stop. By much time is so similar. You're out. Chazal say close to tefillin mezuzos. Sofrim. Also Sifrei Torah. Moshe Ber adds. B'shashas kimelachim in their involvement, their work. Shein kamras, shein parnas, shein mitzvah, and their intent is not to make money, but to do the mitzvah. V'chein tagrem, so to the salespeople, the tagrei tagrem, and the salespeople of the salespeople. V'chol shas kimelachas zakol, shein bas involved in the holy work. Look, rak l'shein mitzvah. Only for the person mitzvah b'turim ma'anochas tefillin kol yom. They're exempted until the entire day. The Bible says kriya shema tefillah. So Asher Shema and David. Pisa li don lo shach din zeh. According to this, it's not relevant to halachas. Regardless, lav hachi ain't no chlim kol yom tefillin. Which is I'm assuming because we don't go with tefillin anymore the entire day. Anak shows kim lachtam, but let's say involved in safras. He gives my kriya shema tefillah. The time of Shema and tefillah comes. Lo yavsiku afin yavor azman. They shouldn't stop even the time will pass. Those can mitzvah part of mitzvah since about one mitzvah to examine the other mitzvah. If that's the case, it's also relevant to us. It's best to be careful not to start safras once the time Kriya Shema has come upon one. If they started, aim up saying they don't have to stop. Because can be still kind of as and so they start before this time, they don't have to stop. So for him, Shlosim L'Shem Parnasa, our suffering will right for the purpose of making a living. They got to stop no matter what. The Mishnah Berurah writes in the name of the Vush that we're talking about here that a sofer has a buyer in front of him who wants to buy the product of the safras, and the Kohen needs to travel overseas on a caravan, so the time is passing. If you can't wait until the sofer or the merchant fulfills the whatever mitzvah is at hand for him, it's better to push it off the other mitzvah and to write and sell the tefillin, even though the other mitzvah's time will pass as a result. That's why that when you started writing before time of Shema got here. But once the time of Shema came, you can't begin writing. But according to Levush, if it's a case, if it is such a case where actually the guy has to go overseas or in a caravan, I can't wait until the sofer does Shema and Tefillah. Everybody agrees the sofer should do his work. But if the wayfarer estimates say he does have time if the sofer estimates that he does have time to write the tefillin for the person going away, and yet also to say Shema with tefillin, if you read the first Baruch Shema before he starts down the work, he should do so. Be'alacha writes the Torah by the sofer estimates that that he's going to have many buyers today. Therefore, he has to make himself diligent ahead of time, because if that's not the case, he won't be able to. Because if it's not a time of when there's going to be a great influx of customers, most of them are not going to push themselves to write constantly. Certainly have time to take off for Shema and Tefillah. You base v'da no the zesha man shein tzarich lafsik afilu lavoras man shem the estim is a potem in so that we know that we said that you don't have to stop even the time it's coming because of osik b'mitzvah potem min ha-mitzvah so afilu sheyochel yigmar ksiva achar shespel even he can start finish writing after he davens and he starts to Shema but tefillah mitzvah versa so the Shema and tefillah are a transient mitzvah zu ein mitzvah versa and this tefillah is not a transient mitzvah. The Kamachal nevertheless ain't Tzarich Lafsik. You still have to stop. The Kach goes to the Torah, so the Torah decree. The Chumash Isaac, the Mitzvah, anybody says about Mitzvah Potter, up Eis Maaseh, the Mitzvah Sacheros, he's exempt at the time he's doing it from other mitzvahs. That's why a person who's watching a dead body, Potter Mekriya Shema Tefillah is exempt for Shema Tefillah. Abbi Shalom Kaim was on Gam Shvasa. Even though he can read him on his way, he's guarding. So somebody who digs a grave is exempt. Even if he rests a moment between diggings. This is in order to strengthen him. And so too everything similar of that sort. We're still not finished with the mitzvah. It goes on to tomorrow's Arukh HaShulchan as well.